Okay, working from the last scene, I'm going to go ahead and take this little mouth joint, and I'm going to close it. So I'll type in 0 for the rotation. And what I'm going to do is that since we didn't bind the, since we bound the geometry before we actually did any blend shapes, we would have the issue of trying to duplicate this geometry now to make our blend shapes. So to get around that, the best thing is to take this geometry that we have now, and you're going to want to save this scene right now as something else. So save it as an iteration, that way you always have this one to go back to, since you probably spent time painting the weights and getting that to work correctly. Okay? Painting weights is very time consuming and you would not want to have to do it again. So save the scene right now as something else and use this scene as a duplicate scene. So I'm going to select this scene, this geometry, and I'm going to go up to skin, and I'm going to detach this skin. Now the detached skin I'm going to duplicate. So I'm going to go up to edit down to duplicate, or hit Control D. I'm going to move the duplicates over. They don't have to be very far, they just have to be in an area where we can work with them so that we're not messing with this one here. Now with the duplicate still selected, I'm not going to change anything on it. I'm not going to delete history or anything like that. I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to export this duplicate. I'm going to export it as a selection. That way it's only the geometry that I have selected and not the other character on the right. I'm going to have everything selected with the exception of keep only a reference. I need to give it a name. So I have one here that I'm just going to save over called test export body. You can call it whatever you feel is going to make sense to you. And I'm going to go ahead and replace that one and hit continue. And I'm going to open up a file where I did or finished the painting of the weights. So I'm going to go back to this one that I saved previously. I can close the mouth of this character right here like that, and I'm going to import the other character. So I can actually turn this thing off real quick, and that's going to be wireframe on shaded. I'm going to go up to File, down to Import, and I'm going to import the test export body that I exported a little while ago. And you're going to see that it's right there on the side. Now, what I should have done as well is I should have brought the eyes over for the eye blinks, okay? Because the eyes here, I can actually take these and I should be able to duplicate them and move them over. But we're going to need them because you're going to see that the eye geometry comes out like this. And what we have to do is we have to get the lids to go over the eyes like such with this contour. Otherwise, they're going to want to come straight through, and they're going to be cutting through the eye geometry, and you're going to see that when it is animated. So it's good to have anything in here that you're going to need for that. Okay, so the vertices are going to be driven by the blend shape itself, and the blend shape is going to recognize that the vertices on this head are the same as the vertices on this head. So if I make any changes to this, which I'm going to do right now, by selecting my move tool, I am going to vertex, and I'm going to select like the chin, pull it down and over, start making this little moon man looking thing. He's going to look as though he has a smile already, and I'm also going to give him a bit of a larger nose there, like so. Something pretty simple. And I'm going to go back to object mode, select one head, and it always has to be the duplicate head first. If you make multiple heads of this, you're going to want to select all of them, then select this character. Okay? And we can take these different heads and we can add to the character so that we have our blend shapes all together. I'm going to give it a name, and you're going to want to name these according to what they are, like Moonhead, for instance. If this was the vowel A, I might call it just A, or vowel A, something like that. Also, I can take any of the other phonemes, like F, where the bottom lip comes up and touches the teeth, E, where the lips stretch out, and any of those, and label them, because when we add a blend shape to the original head, we're going to hide this other geometry that creates the blend shapes, and we're going to take the head here and open it up and use the blend shapes, and they're going to already take the name of the previous heads. So I'm going to select this moon head, and that's going to be the one that I deform. I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to select the original head. You always want to select the original head last. Go up to create deformers, down to blend shape, and I'm just using the native settings, okay? So I'm going to select the head here, the original head. I'm going to scroll down in my channel box. I get a blend shape 1 in the inputs. When I select the blend shape 1, I'm going to come over here to the moon head, select it by clicking the text with my left mouse button, coming over here, holding down my middle mouse button, and dragging to the right and left. You're going to see that it goes from 0 to 1, and it'll go in little steps. So you can actually have this as an animation, and it's going to go through the little few iterations till it gets to 1, which is 100% that shape. If we have more than one blend shape, we can have them mix and match, and they can make new different looks. For instance, I'm going to try it with this guy, see if it'll let me do it. If not, you might want to import the geometry once again, move it over to the side. So let me duplicate this head, and let's see if we get any issues with it. And hopefully this head over here doesn't want to jump over to it, because sometimes we get some weird placement because of that. So I'm just going to make some edits to this. So let's pretend that we're going to have the moon head looking thing, say E. I'm going to turn on reflections in my tool settings, and I'm going to do it in X because I modeled it from the front. If you modeled it from the side, you're probably going to be doing it in Z. And if you had something from the top and bottom that needed to be the same, then it would be Y. So in this case, nothing is like that. So I'm just going to keep it on X, and I can select one corner of the mouth. Because this character is even on both sides, it's the exact same on both sides, that kind of helps me out quite a bit. But if I want to get it to say E, this is generally the shape of the mouth for E. And I have kind of a big cluster selected, so I can try to get it to come back like that a little bit more. And you're going to see that that is becoming a decent shape for E. Now this is just a quick example, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. But I think you guys can see where I'm going with this. So I'll right click on this, go to object mode, select it, shift select the original head, and this is the way I would add a head that I created later. I would go up to edit deformers, because remember we created a deformer and we got a blend shape 1 node over here in our channel box, and I'll show you that again. This blend shape 1 node is going to be something that we can add to. That way we don't have to have different sliders, and you're going to see the way that works for blend shapes. Also, we wouldn't have to have a blend shape 1 and then go to a blend shape 2, 3, 4, and so on when we're wanting to add the blend shapes for animational purposes. Animational, that's new. Anyway, animation purposes. So I'm going to come up to edit deformers, and I want to add to that blend shape 1. So I'm going to come down to add blend shape, or add shape, and let me see, and I'm going to go to add, and we get another blend shape based off of the original moon. It called it moon head 1, and I should have called it or named it E, but that's okay. I'm going to come to the inputs, and when I do this, what I'm doing is deselecting the blend shape and reselecting just the original geometry that I want to come down to its blend shape. And you can see that I have the moon head and moon head 1, which I should have labeled E, and I didn't. I could always undo it and redo it, but let's see if this head's not going to try to jump over to that head. So I'm going to select it with my left mouse button, hold down my middle mouse button, and drag it to the right. and you're going to see that I do get the proper deformation. Now, since I didn't take my teeth along with it, or my eyes, then you're going to see that I'm getting interpenetration because I couldn't model for that. And that's why you want to take your teeth and eyes and anything else that might end up popping out through this head. Now, the cool thing about this is, let me go to full screen mode. If I change this, I can change this head over here. And let me select one side like that. And I'm going to try to look at this one and see if it's going to do it. But usually if you make a change to these vertices, it'll change this one as well because they're connected. So I can, well, let me scale them away from each other. So let's see if I have an option to do that. Nope, I might have to just pull them. So I'll hit W. I'll select that. I'm looking over here. I can pull it forward a bit and out away from each other a tiny bit. And now you're going to see that it's updated that. It actually is pretty cool looking. And I don't even have it smoothed out. So you can keep adding to these and repairing them if you need, or changing just the way that they look. So he can be a totally different character in this case, who's maybe like a shapeshifter. I don't know. You can use your imagination for quite a lot of things here. So if I select his face and I hit 3 on my keyboard, it's still going to update that. And we're going to have the nice smooth geometry that a smoothed out version of this character would be. So it's pretty cool, almost kind of creepy, but more cool than creepy. And I think it gets the point across quite well. Now, that comes to another part here that I will have to add. And I might put this towards the beginning, so you guys might want to look for these little phonemes. Okay? So in the next tutorial, I think that we can start putting all of this stuff together, because your blend shapes are going to work in this fashion. One thing that we could do or address is the eyes. So I'm going to see if I could duplicate these eyes over in the next tutorial, and then we could base the blinks off of those eyes.